10% today is representing, how you can increase productivity in your team. This says if you found a way to increase productivity for your team and company by 10%, would you invest in that?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Yes, because that translates to a lot for the most part. Today, our objectives really are to take you through a number of use cases that we'll at least prioritize for today. And we'll also talk about accidents to avoid while using these AI tools, as we found that that's like a pretty big topic and pretty big reason why teams have not been adopting this GenAI tools already. And did you have a question?
No.
Oh,
Sorry, I was just...
Sounds good. Yes, and so we'll jump right into it. We selected just 3 use cases to discuss today, and we can go into more of them if we decide to do more work together. Today, we'll be prioritizing on the first one is around sharpening skills that are differential for salespeople. This one will involve role playing with AI to do things like objection handling and negotiation, as those are key skills for salespeople, especially folks who just started in the field and looking to improve their craft. The second one is about getting unstuck. I think you'll be driving that one.
I'm really excited to share with you some of the things that I get to do in my job. Yes, director of learning, where I'm trying to help other people with their learning, but part of it means I have an excuse to be a learner myself. And so Alex and I decided that we were just going to start doing a deep dive every week and try to filter down the thousands of new tools that seem to be coming up every week. That sounds exciting, but is actually a barrier. Nobody has that kind of time. That's work itself. So we've done some of the work to try to pull out what are the 1, 2, or 3 in any particular area of your work to get you started, to get you seeing what the possibilities could be. And as always, we all know, right? All these tech skills are transferable. Once you have an idea of how one of them works in that lane, it's a lot easier to transfer over. So that's what we're hoping to help you with today.
Yes, and the last one about boosting email conversion. To me, that felt like the simplest and easiest thing, but it's been so interesting how at client sites, they're so interested in this piece. Apparently, people don't write pretty good emails, right? Yeah, apparently. And so we had managers talk a lot about needing to review emails from, their employees and having to tweak those. And so we have some steps here to share with your teams and train them on that piece so that they can work with an AI tool to get it to a certain level before at least it gets to your table. So without further ado, I think we'll jump right in.
As Alex is jumping in, if I could say one last thing about that, the other part is we may not write good emails, but ChatGPT doesn't by itself either. As you know, it writes the same email. It feels like every time. So we have done some work to try to split the difference, get in the middle of the space to just 1 or 2 more prompts can actually make it sound the best and most like you at the same time.
Exactly. So on the first one, we're talking about role playing with an AI tool. So I don't know how clear this is. I believe some of you can see some of it. Noreen, I'll talk about it as well. So on this one, I was role playing with this, and I told it that I work for Ahura AI. I gave it the website, the URL, and mentioned that I was going to be having meetings with a particular company. I gave it the URL as well, and said I was going to be telling them about the generative AI executive training solutions that we provide. Can it give me 5 likely objections that they will have? And potential answers that I can provide. Right. So this is actually something simple that people can do with the tool. And it actually gave me 5 objections that actually were pretty applicable and answers that I decided to tweak myself, right? But at least it gave me a starting point. And that was a pretty useful exercise that I share with my team as well. Right. On the second one, I believe I asked that it should. And on the second piece, that's also speaking to what Maria mentioned earlier, where the AI sometimes does make mistakes or misassumptions, and that's completely fine. All you have to do is correct it, because in this scenario, I asked it about a Gen AI executive training solution. It misunderstood, thinking that I wanted to talk about something different. So I asked it that, no, this is not about AI-based training, but training about AI tools. And then gave me better responses. Yeah, I don't know if you have any comment on that.
What I love about ChatGPT is I am definitely a big fan. I won't be getting a tattoo anytime soon, but it would be on the list if I was considering it because it's really made a big difference, not just for our work conversations around trying to do quick hacks around sales objections or other things, but also thinking for me, all right, this is the role I want to grow into. What's some career advice that you could give me, ChatGPT? What's the next class I should be taking or the next kind of mentor I should be looking for to help me boost my skills for this role that I'm in? It's really interesting to see that it can do quite a bit with role play in terms of giving you not just scenarios the way Alex has here, but asking for specific, okay, great objection and a great response. Give me a quote I could say in that meeting. Really get granular about word choice. And one of the things that Alex, you mentioned, I think is good to say, this is the teacher in me. I used to be a professor at UC Berkeley and also a high school teacher. 20 years, you're welcome. Teenagers are awesome, but there's very few of us who think that. With that in mind, one of the things I notice is that even if ChatGPT gives you an objection or an idea you didn't like, it helps you with your own. Either way, you win, even if ChatGPT is wrong.
Fantastic. Well, the next one was a funny one for me because one of our employees was looking to have a conversation about getting a raise, and so I asked, "All right, go talk to ChatGPT and have it coach you on how to have that conversation." Right. So that was an interesting one. So it was like, I just finished training myself on how to automate 50% of my day using AI tools. Let's role play. Coach me on how to ask my boss for a promotion. Right. So that's a pretty powerful conversation because I believe a lot of people this doesn't come very naturally to a lot of people, especially early in their careers. So being able to coach yourself on something like this could be really important. You know.
And I just think about how much we talk about coaching, executive coaching, and what a gift that is to get to do that. But it's not necessarily the most accessible thing, particularly for an emerging leader or a new career person. And so the idea that you've got a bit of a hack here, that you've got a starting space to get that support without reading 20 best-selling business books, which you don't have time to do at this moment, this can be really in the moment when you need it.
Yeah, and this is just some fun examples that we selected, but really within your own business, there are other, kind of coaching opportunities and use cases that your people have. But it'll be very I'm just trying to tell you that this is there, this is accessible to them, that they can leverage these tools to improve on that. Please, you have some comment.
Yes, so I'm just jumping back to I love the topic here, but just back to the objection handling, right, which is very critical for a sales organization, especially when you try to educate them on shifting from some behavior, just basically selling on value or price, to really deal with more complex environment. You can see how this applies to simple questions, but how do you take it from once you kind of pass and meet the basic needs? How can you elevate this in terms of maybe driving a full program around this for your organization? How do you customize this in terms of maybe the context of your own competition, of your own offering? Be really curious. Maybe it comes later, but I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts about how you take it from GPT to maybe a core tool for your organization.
Yeah.
I have some starting thoughts because, again, it's really fun to get to do some of this R&D work around this particular tool. And one of the things that Alex and I had tried is like, all right, we can do the basic, like I have to try to do this thing for this company, or I need a sales email about my product. But the more information or context you give to ChatGPT, the more specific and applicable the responses you get. And so some of the work we did was come up with a series of prompts where you can actually create a really well-tailored company profile for you, your team. Still publicly available information. We're not talking that we're doing anything with concerns around it, but you can do the same for the customer. Not that I'm trying to sell this tool, I'm trying to sell it to Google. These are the 5 main, and I think I started asking things like, here's the website for XYZ company. What are the top 5 words that are coming up on that company? Now use those words in the email draft. There's a lot you can do to marry all the public info around your company or your tool, the public info of the group or the person that you are going to be talking to, and pull out something that is really kind of tailored and then have them inserted into the draft. So that's a starting space that you could have and teach your team, or already have ready for them on a doc. They cut and paste, tell ChatGPT, and then give your ask, and there you go. So it's a much more highly tailored response than the starting points are at.
Yeah, and that's exactly here. That's exactly why I wrote that. First and foremost, we are, I work for Ahura AI.com, because then it was going to go to our webpage and figure out what's the mission, vision of this company, what's the product page, what am I likely to offer, and then look at looklobster.com to figure out the similar thing on their end. And so these responses are provided are actually tailored to based on the context of these two organizations. Really, beyond what these public-facing tools do, they are now becoming tools by companies. For example, we work with Salesforce. They've built something called Sales GPT, where if you were to provide the actual name of the person you're going to meet with, it will go on their social media profiles like LinkedIn and see their more recent posts, so that it starts to tailor the message to the recent things that they apparently care about based on the posts that they're making. So that's how tailored these things can start to get. And that's Sales GPT, the tool by Salesforce, and I imagine other companies are building things that are similar, but this is what's becoming possible. It's really incredible. Yes, and so to jump a bit forward here and switch over to the next phase on getting them stuck with the marketing tools.
Yeah, sorry, I prefer to stand. When we're talking about getting unstuck, that was really Alex's idea about how to frame this, and I really love it because it isn't just about telling you how to transform content, which many of these tools do, but the idea that even if the decks or the things that you're creating here aren't going to really match the branding of your company deck or colors, it's a starting point to get unstuck about what I could present, the order, the scope, and sequence, and some various visual ways that I could reinforce my messaging that I hadn't already thought of or that we aren't already doing. And so this would be a great time as I finish reading this list. If you've got a laptop out, I highly suggest that you take it out or your phone to really get a chance to listen and learn as we go, and just sort of already start to see what could be possible in the next 10 minutes that you can try to build, just to get a taste of it. And so some of the things that we talked about in terms of what we need at our company in our work every day that takes time, needs to be good, but we don't have that kind of time to devote in that way, would be how do we write quick blogs or put together presentations on the fly as needed, or maybe we have a presentation but we realize there's something else we want to add. How do we get it there at that same visual quality level? Quickly, how do we shift or transform content from things like a blog, text writing, over into things that might be more engaging to your audience and more applicable to social media or other particular ways of delivering content? For example, a podcast or a video doing image creation. I'm sure maybe some of you have played with Dolly or Midjourney already. Incredible. Again, the same idea of driving some of the prompts you use can really help with your skills there. And then finally, for us, the part that does take time is around video editing. How do we get that perfect clip for either our promo on our website or on social media? And then finally, the part that we're working on the back end with our own tech is how do we talk about changing the voice of the person that's narrating? Maybe make it one of us, even though it wasn't ours. Take one of our speeches and have it actually translate to us talking without having to do it. So these are some of the things we'll talk briefly about today. And again, if you've got your laptop or phone out, I absolutely take it out and get to play with it too. So the first one that we thought we'd just check in about is about Dolly 3, because I think that's something that probably you all have maybe experimented with. Can I see folks that have tried? Yeah. So what are you thinking? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down? How's it been going for you in terms of using it? What are you using it for?
I just played around with it for getting the visual content for presentations to have a same style presentation visuals, and it didn't work. It kept changing the appearance. There was no red thread.
Did you feel good about the outcome that you got?
The first one, yes, I was surprised how good it was, and then everything else was just more of the same, but in a non-consistent format.
Have there any other folks had an experience with Dolly that was either really good you want to share, or maybe some areas you were like, it's not where I need it to be yet to make it worth using?
I found several of the image generation tools can replace reliance on stock photography, which is more tailored and product specific. You really agree for whatever. Instead of going out and trying to find a kind of bar spectrum roll rate, instead of getting a tower, I can put in a tower in an environment with something there and a particular time of year or location. It becomes much more tailored and really available.
Excellent. Very cool. Alex, did you want to share anything about your experience with Donna before we talk a little bit about how we created this one?
No, I think that's fine. For me, I'm actually just listening to and figure out why do salespeople want to create assets? You know, and if someone has a what to share, then please do. I think you were decided to share like you wanting to have a tailored image that actually matches what you're trying to talk about. What do you do with those actually? Is this for a blog or yeah?
No, just working with the team, and if they're putting customer-facing materials together, so instead of taking the stock image we've had and produced for 5 years, you can update that with something that's much more relevant and much more on point for what's on the particular slide. And I'm seeing that starting to work out quite well. Or uploading an image and then creating a process for modification of that image, so that it's more tailored. Yeah.
So some of the limitations that I found is if I just ask it to create an image, it's sort of hit or miss. I'll get a thing, and then I might try to give it another prompt to fix it, and then it never does. It'll create something brand new. So I realized one of the things to do first is just to take a moment before doing that part and just say, this is how I'm working it, and we've been pretty happy with the results, which is, the prompt I give is, give me 3 descriptions for an image about XYZ. Don't make the image, just give me descriptions. And so they'll give me 3, and then I can pick one of them. It's already written in the language that Chat or Dolly will understand. I might tweak something, or typically I'll add a rule. My rules are no text, because they never spell things right. Even AI has not been spelled right about 90% of the time, even if I love the image. And now I'm seeing an image I love, but I'm never getting it again. Now I got to Photoshop. So I put a hard, fast rule, none of this, and then I might give it a color scheme, futuristic vibe, lighter colors. And then I get a much more higher likelihood of getting something more than quite good the first time, not the 7th time. And that's really the biggest thing that I've found. And that's kind of what we were working with here, just really asking them to give me options. Then I picked one, edited with a rule what I did or didn't want, and then my first image was what I wanted to get.
Awesome. Should I flip to the next slide?
Sure.
One question, if it's possible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. For what use cases you use DALL-E 3 or Stable Diffusion or Midjourney? For why you choose one or another?
Oh yeah, I've always decided when we're talking about our tools that we're investigating to always start with something that is accessible. Beyond any particular having to pay that kind of barrier. Of course, if you have more sophisticated or very specific needs, elevate up. But starting here, it's amazing how much you can do with a free or a very accessible and inexpensive tool first, in order to get the most out of whatever money you're spending on the other. So really it was about accessibility so that everyone could have a chance to work with it, both at work and at home.
For what topics each one?
Yeah, so for us, we use it in some marketing things, also too, even the Lumas for this event. All of those were created by this program. Sometimes I'll ask you to give me 5 words around innovation, and then I'll say use those 5 ideas in the image, just really trying to make our life a little easier, but also these front-facing things, although the picture's a small part of what we're trying to do, it matters. People care about it, and it needs to look high quality, and this got us there with very little time.
I hope you agree that the Luma photos look high quality. That is okay. Yeah, all right, good.
Yeah, so that's kind of why we're doing it. It saves time and also looks very professional.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Do you guys prefer, do you choose DALL-E 3 for images as well as Midjourney, but do you have a preference on which one do you use as far as DALL-E 3 or even the paid version of ChatGPT that also does images? Or do you prefer Midjourney?
I prefer prefer Dolly, and it's just silly. Like if you've ever been on Midjourney, it's like most of the pictures I see are like dragons or elves and stuff. I'm not trying to be rude, but it just doesn't feel like my vibe. I'm kidding, I'm joking. But it really is, there comes a point where the tools are very similar and it is just about your personal preference. So I'm just being honest. For me, this is also because it's tied to chat and I can do dual functions at once because chat is going to help drive the better image. So I don't have to go back and forth. So it's really convenience and also it just seems like what I'm getting matches what I'm paying for a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a win for DALI to be integrated with ChatGPT because that just makes it so easy and similar. So you get the paid version of ChatGPT and you have access to DALI, and I think they're integrating other tools to it as well. And we believe that's actually going to be the future of these platforms, where the ones that win, they become kind of like integrated into the same workflow. So the user doesn't have to switch between 5 different tabs and 5 different tools. So that's where these things are heading, and we're constantly looking out for tools that are bringing the pieces together. Yeah, and then this next tool I'm actually pretty excited about. Much.
All right, so a lot of our work now, whether we knew it was going to be that 10 years ago, but now it's true, is social media. You do not have a company unless you have a social media presence and you need to attend to it like a garden. You need to give it content. It needs to be good to engage folks on many levels. And so one of the best way to do that is video clips. But typically you have to hire someone to spend all their time trying to watch it, find exactly the right space that's exactly the right length for that particular social media platform. Every one of them has a different algorithm about how they choose which ones get pushed forward to your audience. It's a whole level of calculus in social media to do this correctly. So the one thing that we found is this particular tool called Munch could not be easier in terms of doing video clip creation.
And actually, Maria, as you keep going with that, I'll even invite Alex Moran in the back and Jimmy. Jimmy, I saw you step outside. Where are you? These are our video guys. We want you to watch this tool because we want you to use it tonight.
It's crazy because I use ChatGPT
Jimmy?
for a lot. Actually, I use it as my therapist, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I also use Midjourney. But I found
Hey,
that
come watch this.
I've done some work for some clients where I've included some of the projects that I've done through my photos into the photos that Midjourney will give me.
Nice.
I mean, I've created I have this client that I help with private aviation, and then I help them with the marketing for social media, and then I create basically everything from the inside of the plane through Midjourney without me stepping inside of the plane.
All right, so
That's
this might be for you. Okay.
Yeah, Jimmy's a little confused as to why.
You don't have to present anything, it's okay.
Yes, so basically, she's about to describe a tool that makes it so much easier to clip videos, right? So the videos we're capturing today, this is what we can do with them. Please, Maria.
Sure. So this particular tool is of interest for me because we're doing quite a few more video podcasts and just trying to find exactly the right thing that can really express in 30 seconds what we're trying to do and bring on some conversations for us about our team and what we're trying to build. And this is so simple. It's called Munch. I definitely suggest you open it up. And again, all these things have some sort of free demo space, even though this is a paid tool, where you can experiment. So what I did is all you have to do is upload either, an MP4 that you have, downloaded on your computer, or you can add in a link to a YouTube or some other platform video, which is really helpful. Typically before it had to be something downloaded on your computer. You don't always have all that kind of access. This can just be on YouTube. And then you can choose a few things. You can choose what you're purposing this for. Are you trying to find clips for LinkedIn or TikTok? Is this for Instagram? Is this for Facebook? And so you can already start to tailor it. And the next thing you can do is tell it how long do you want the clips to be? Is it a minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds? And then you have some customization options, but the first time around, it's always good just to let it kind of fly, see what it shows up for you. And so I usually just say, you choose Munch, and I want it to be 60 seconds. And it'll break up the video into 60-second clips. Each of the clips, though, will have hashtags that are already tailored for that particular social media platform. And it will also have an easy click. It's already going to post it to your social media in one click. As well as it will have the actual, besides the hashtags, but the little message that you want to put with the video as well. And I found that to be the best thing, right? That's like 4 different jobs in one. And I think for those of you that are doing this professionally, this was for me on the side for a project, but if this were a professional space, I think that's where you probably do more tweaking about exactly what you want it to look for. They'll title each of them so that as you're trying to pick the clips or adjust them, you already know where you're trying to go. It's a really beautiful tool.
And by the way, this is just random 30-second clips within a 10-minute, 60-minute. These are clips. These are 30 seconds that are likely to go viral. Right. So the algorithm is trained to identify parts of videos that are likely to go viral, and so it cuts them pretty well. Like at the point where the person is starting to share whatever message that is to where they end. And then you, of course, can go and tweak and change, the start and end points. But it does a pretty good job at that, providing you here. It provided 48. Let me actually use my mouse. It provided 48 examples. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you tell it the exact places where
It
you come
does it
and the
itself.
exact sound? It does it itself. Oh, wow, so you recognize the voice or whatever you
Yeah,
want to
so
say.
think
and
about
it does
24 hours of video. You have to pay for that. But before you had to sit and watch for 24
watch
hours.
everything. Yeah.
I think there's a few SaaS services that do the same thing with Opus.
Yeah.
Where basically you just input the video and then it dices up for you. It even tells you the ranking of which of these topics are the most viral. And it gives you a headline that will be your favorite.
And by the way, I don't imagine that you guys in the room are creating videos yourself. Your teams are doing this, but we're telling you about these tools so you can tell your teams about them and they should cut down their time. The next time they tell you it's going to take them 2 to 4 weeks to cut your videos, tell them to get much and do it in a day.
One last thing I'd like to share, though, and I think, Jim, you bring up a good point. We are at that saturation point where there's lots of tools to choose from. And the one thing that we've really learned as we talk to even our team at an AI company, that you can't treat the AI as like a first date, and you didn't like it, and so you're just not going to call it again. Like, you do have to go back and revisit. You do need to notice what reviews are happening. So, Munch at first was, like, when I first looked at it, was all right. But in a month, it is like the top tool in that particular time. But also, it may not be that 2 months from now. So it is sort of something, again, the idea of a dialogue is happening even as you're analyzing what tool to use. So being open and flexible is a great way to consider AI tools, but this is an excellent starting point for sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. And Gamma.
All right, so we fought over this slide because we both love this so much and want to share it with you. First of all, the color scheme. I mean, can we talk hot pink? I'm here for it. Really, what I love about this is that, we all want to get that slide deck perfect, and I don't know how long I could spend many hours trying to make sure it's exactly aligned at like 70 degrees across all the text boxes. It's not a good use of our intellectual time and work that we're doing, and the pace that we do that. What's beautiful about GenAI is that it works in conjunction with Notion, if you're aware of Notion and cards and how it's set up. So if you love Notion, this will feel like home. I have not really used Notion a lot. It is still incredibly intuitive to use. But what I would say is the best way to use it is the way that Alex and I use it, which is to use it with AI. So typically what you can do is simply say you're going to choose AI, and then you're going to put in either some notes. You can cut and paste a document, and they'll take your text and then actually automatically create a color scheme that you can choose or let it roll for itself, fly on its own. And you can actually arrange in some really beautifully organized slides, which then, of course, you can customize. We've put together slide decks that we then presented for a variety of reasons.
I did it this Sunday. I was flying out of San Francisco. I was invited to give some talk to a school in Pretoria, South Africa. So 5 minutes before my flight, I pop in 5 bullet points to this. It spits out, 15 slides. I download them to my computer and then on the plane, then tweak it. This is me using this as an intern. So that's the first draft. And then on the plane, I get to edit that. And the second I land, I run to the hotel and I present that slide deck. That's that happened this past Sunday.
That's amazing. And I have to say, for me as an educator, I think one of the things that makes slide deck kind of creation so slow is that you're trying to work with the content, also the visual, and the editing. You're looking at scope and sequence, and each of those are complex tasks that are very hard to do at the same time. So this takes away the visual and the organizational kind of responsibilities. It gives you some content space that you can then tweak. It just gives you it's just a better use of your time and mental energy. It's also not very useful to try to do 4 complex complex tested one. So it takes away that for you. This is by far our favorite of them.
Yeah, I love it. Except the consultants in the room, probably. Any consultants in the room? BCG person? Yeah, you guys. But
But I think you were talking earlier about productivity. I mean, that's the point.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. No. The point is, if this really brings 10 or more % productivity increase, then do it.
And this is where I really think that your phrasing, getting unstuck, is helpful. Because sometimes you can get so in your head of taking that doc or that big idea and putting it onto slides in a way that people can perceive and understand quickly. And this just gets you there so much faster. I mean, we're talking 80-90%, not 50% there. That's pretty amazing.
Sorry, one question.
go ahead.
So you talked about the example where you used the tool for representation. Are you applying this for this specific presentation? Is there a part of this presentation that used? Which?
Not this one.
I can answer that because another tool that we were looking at is the most famous tool at this point, which is Canva, that now has AI in it. So yes, you were right. It's very meta here in AI, Ahura AI. But the tool that we were working with for this presentation was Canva and AI. But yes, I feel like what I love about our work is that we do mirror what we're asking folks to do in the work we do behind the scenes, for sure.
Definitely. Let's see. I did have a thought, but it's escaping me. Okay, another thought is so Gamma AI helps you create presentations. It also helps. I don't know if anyone's interested in making websites. But yeah, it helps websites as well. Yeah, you can literally give it a prompt for whatever page you're trying to build, a new financial advisory business, and give it the more information you give, the better, and it spits out what the text and the visuals can look like on that page, and also spits out the HTML. And if you know what to do with that, you're golden. You basically upload that to wherever hosting sites, and you're good to go. Instead of waiting, for someone you hired to put that together. So there's a lot that's happening with these tools.
Alex, I feel like if our master class is longer next time, that would be the homework, is for that.
Yeah. I don't know about time check, how much time we have, and what people's hot stops are, but let's see here. These pieces are on personalized emails, and we'll take that together. So with this, we did ask people what were some of the things they didn't like about these emails. And the first one was people really talk about that the email sounds like it's written by artificial intelligence, and that's not great, right? And so that's our first step. Our first step is that you can teach the AI about your personal writing style. So that way it stops sounding like an AI, at least it reduces that by a lot. The second piece talks about incorporating the client's persona and recent activity. That's what we talked about maybe 15 minutes ago, where you can share the websites of your target receiver of this message or more information about them. The third here is being able to alter an email that you've written yourself and alter that email for different roles within the company. So what version of that email should the CEO see, and how that's different from the CFO, who cares probably more about the financial pieces and ROI. And then bumping the message appeal using images, videos, and emojis that were created from the last section using tools like DALL-E and whatnot, right? And so just to take you through a few of those, in the first instance about creating your style, there are two ways we found about doing this. I think this is your favorite way.
I know. I do love this way because once you've created it, you just keep it, and then you can cut and paste it into chat and say, remember my style. Now here's your prompt. But the way that we created this is actually I fed into ChatGPT a blog post that I had written, and I said, critique my writing, give me the 5 main areas of strength. And so I looked at what the strengths were, decided, and then I asked for some improvements, but different day. This one I went, okay, I really like those 5. Oh, I didn't do it on purpose. Now I can try to do it on purpose. And so I saved those 5 things, and I asked it to write a little prompt for me. I said, write a prompt for you that will tell you to use my writing style. And so it did that. And so I just saved that prompt on my notepad, pop it in, and then I ask for what I want. Every time. It's really lovely not to have to remember it or have to rewrite a prompt that I've written 20 other times. So it's right there for me. me. And I made chat write it for me, which means it won't be confused about what I'm asking.
Definitely. Oh, I didn't even know you gave it a blog post that you're reading. I thought you came up with this table from scratch, and I figured I don't know how to come up with that from scratch. I don't know what my tone is and my body structure. That's interesting. What I did was literally I gave it quite similar. I gave it an emails, 2-3 different emails I've written in the past, maybe longer form emails, and then told it that's the Alex writing style. Okay, so let me read the specific prompts so that you might use the same thing. I said, how would you describe my email writing style? Sample is posted below. And then I said, let's call this the Alex writing style so we can use it to edit other write-ups. Does this work for you? He said, yes. And he said many other things. We're ready to go. So from there, I can now use it to edit emails that I want. Let's see, what did I do here? Right, so I asked it to help write a 100-word sales email to, I provided the URL of the company, this was a real estate company at the time, taking into account their values and their keywords that they will likely care about. We'll be telling them about our CRM tool and asking for a meeting, right? So it provided that response. I believe with this one, it likes to be pretty verbose, especially with the differences. There's ChatGPT, there's Bard. I think Bard gives you a lot more words, and you have to just give it more prompts and ask it, give it to me shorter, or just one paragraph, okay? Don't want this to be too long. And then create a version for the CFO and another version for the CEO. So those are example prompts I use. Let's see here. In terms of identifying key writing strategies for specific business roles, and there was also, I did ask it to give me the guidelines. What are the actual guidelines for writing for people in different roles? Because I found that was a question that a couple of my interns kept asking. It's like, what should we prioritize? And I said, well, go ask ChatGPT. I can tell you what I think, but ask it unless it will provide you. So there's just a number of these things that you can now delegate to these tools instead of needing to spend your time on them all the time. In terms of effective chain prompting, probably you want to take this one.
I know we talked about it before, that the goal isn't to give it a direction and it responds and it's over. The idea is it's more of a dialogue. But these are the things to keep in your mind that get you to a great response faster. I at first would try to put these all in one prompt, and the prompt was like 3 pages long, so I just stopped doing that. So literally, I always start with the same things. What I'm trying to do, I'm writing an email or I'm developing a course around social media marketing. It's for new people to the field. So I need the 5 basic ideas. So I'm giving it context, who's my audience, and my purpose. I want them to be able to X, Y, Z. And then from there, see how it's going. And then you can say, that's a great start, but now I want 5 more ideas. Or now put it into a table with 3 assessment questions. You can keep building. I do love asking it to convert from paragraph into table. It's just easier to read. You can export it, and it's just easier to communicate. All the paragraph just makes me feel I'm back in high school writing essays, and it's not engaging for me. So this is much better. So that would be my one tip about specifying outputs. Consider that as an option.
Fantastic. Well, let me see how many more slides we have here. Well, staying safe while using GenAI tools. So let's go talk about those risks and privacy pieces. So here are at least some common accidents that we've seen happen and some best practices to help avoid those. With this piece, we'd actually love to hear from you as well on things that you're worried about with these tools. In fact, before we go into all that text that's on the slide, what risks are you worried about? Love to hear from you.
Data leaks.
Data leak, okay. Yes.
The prompt I'm asking AI also recording it as a data. So there could be like any kind of to a similar point, potential if you're asking specific about the organization, responsible person, potentially doing out.
By the way, it's not a given that it's doing that, but they can do it, yes. And within their privacy policies, they share whether they add your prompts to their model or not. But then even when they say they don't do it, you have to wonder if you can trust what they said or not. And I'm saying they
know your writing style now.
Yes. Yeah. And I say they because even we are AI company, and we're an AI company for we build education software. And it's very clearly stated in our what you call a privacy policy that we're not saving any of the data using to train our model, except for certain class of users where that's the deal that we made with them. And that's what we follow, that's what we do. So that's why I know that, I mean, we don't use the data, but it's up to, I guess, the clientele to trust what the company's saying about it. But yeah, that's a good one. Is there one more thing people are worried about while they use these tools? So it's mostly data leaks. All right. Well, let's jump in here. So the first one is, well, blindly relying on the AI without human oversight, right? So that's the intern piece. It's an intern. Yes. Please advise your teams. Don't just take whatever it gives you and use it. It's 70% there. You still need to do the remaining 30% of making sure it's correct. And so here it says, AI is your thought partner and intern. Always review the output, ensure accuracy, relevancy, and avoid hallucinations.
Again, going back to my teacher background, one of the things that I really do love about this piece that is not like so perfect you don't have to think about it is when I think about my education life, oftentimes we were asked to make sure we were helping children, university, high school, build critical thinking skills, but that's such a cloud of a word. It's very hard to get really granular about what that means. And then this is the practice every single day. This is the practice for your emerging leaders, new folks on your staff. It's a great bias check. You really do have to think about what you're looking at, what you're receiving, and if it's exactly what you are needing. The questions are there. So I do find that for us as an education company, this little potential accident is actually, I think, going to create a much stronger workforce.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, and then the next one is the data leak piece, where sharing sensitive data with AI algorithm and what's good to do with that. This is an evolving one, and it's really tough to handle. One of the things that we've seen is, are there scenarios that are less likely to involve sensitive data? Do they exist? Within the sales world, what we found is that when you're prospecting and talking to new customers, you're less likely to share something sensitive. Right? It's mostly public information about your company and public information about their company. So you can create emails, at least we have the 70% version of the email using an AI tool. You can build images with that. That sounds completely safe to me. Maybe eventually we'll find an outlier, but it's typically safe to use it for prospecting. But when you're talking to an existing customer, well, there's a likelihood that you might be uploading something you're not supposed to. So there needs to be better care taken there. Yeah. I don't know if anyone has a comment on that, please.
Yeah. I like the way you present this. I think the challenge is if you're trying to implement this, right, with your organization is where to draw the line, right? Because as you get used to it, it's effective, it's productive, and then it might slip just in the middle. Then there is your data, there's the customer data, right? So all this intertwined. So any thoughts about how to just to comply with maybe probably companies' data privacy rules to set kind of a foundation that is a safe place for employees to and the team to basically exploit the AI tool.
I really appreciate your saying that because one of the things that we talked about is that even say at Salesforce that has that Einstein Sales GPT, we know that people are going to use this other stuff that's free on their phone. So you do need to talk about it. That is part of the strategy that you need to just talk about ethics and best use accident avoidance and make that a regular part of meetings, of strategy planning, of one-on-ones, so that it is really clear and that people aren't afraid to not use it, but also are not blurring it in a way that puts you as a company at risk.
Because to repeat what she said, if you've not had this conversation, I hope you are aware that your people are using it.
Yeah.
They are. So it's better to have the conversation and provide guidelines on how to use it appropriately because they are using it. And one of the solutions is, I guess, for the larger enterprise companies, they build their own internal AI tools, which they are comfortable because they built the model themselves, right? And I believe companies like Amazon or Microsoft are figuring out ways to empower companies to build their own So this is an ongoing thing where people, trying to help enterprise organizations build their own LLM platform so they don't have to use the public ones. And the jury's still out. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
And one last thing, again, to mirror other things we've talked about, as we said with tools, your first experience can't be the last time you look at it. Things can change. These conversations, your rules are going to change for your company as an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, definitely. The next one is around bias, right? So auto decision making with bias assumptions. So it's good to always be careful and ensure, it's good to have a good testing approach for the tools that you're using. Here we say use AI tools that are trained on a diverse and representative data sets to avoid bias, and regularly access to tools that adjust use cases. Right. So this is what's big. So for example, thinking about it, do you have any examples in
I
mind?
do have one because it's something we've talked about. It's so frustrating. One of my rules for Dolly to make images is I've already decided the line is because I just can't handle it anymore. If I ask for anything related to AI or technology in general, the image will include a person, but the person is always the same person. It's a gentleman, usually gray hair, very well put together, tall, very thin, and Caucasian. It's every time. And even if I ask it to broaden who might be the person or actually name a person, it doesn't, or it does, but then the person has like 8 fingers. Like I'm telling you, so for me, that would be for right now, Dolly is not what I'm going to go to for people. I'm going to go to somewhere else for that, or have stock photos, or find another way if that's a priority for me, which for us as a company, that is absolutely a priority. So, but thinking about that, about when I'm going to use it, that's my line for now. It's just too annoying, but it will get better. I know this, but right now it's just not there for me.
Fantastic. Well, we covered most of them, and I think I saw people taking some screenshots. So, yes, maybe we'll open it up for any additional questions, 1 or 2 questions before we close here.
Yes. One. I'm a sales leadership coach, and some of my clients are regulated businesses. So they have to log every decision they make, even on the onboarding clients or reaching out to clients. Why did you reach out? What was the purpose? And what's the rules? Now with AI, they find it's great, but it's usually quite volatile. You get a yes and a no, but it's seemingly the same, and you can't demonstrate to the regulator how the decision can be made. Is there any hack or any way of getting a consistent result from AI and getting an AI to at least consider the documents where the decisions are made?
I'm not sure. And by the way, with this, I don't know if I heard it correctly, are they creating emails with AI tools?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I think this is where a little bit more work on the front end. There's the quick and dirty, here's 3 words about my style, or here's 3 words about that, or write a thing. But doing some more of that work where you're creating rules or a persona ahead of time and then you kind of paste that in, I think that might be something for us to check in about. That's where I found I get quite a bit better, but it's also an investment of time on my part. So I've only done it when I really thought it was going to be a repeated task. So this one sounds like one that would be worth the time to spend more than like an hour actually crafting that and experimenting. Yeah, I just really setting the not even the prompt, but the context.
Cool. Well, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Well, I hope that we've inspired you a little bit to think about different ways that you can use ChatGPT and other really basic tools. And, we do put out a bit of social media stuff around the new tools. We have our Ahura AI hot list of tools. That would be us doing that. And we really do enjoy talking about ways to help you think about how to get unstuck and how to get better with you and your team, particularly as we have a whole new workforce that's coming in. I think about COVID and how that really kind of made it hard for some folks to make that leap over. They're going to need some support, and these tools can help them do the work you need done better and better every day. And the last thing I'd say is, the more we can think about our relationship with technology as a relationship that can evolve and change, I think the less less likely we are to have those accidents, and the more likely we are to get the most out of it every single iteration.
Definitely. So like she just said, have your team follow Ahura AI on their favorite social media platform, and every week they will learn about a new tool, and hopefully that helps drive productivity for your team. And if you want a more structured training program, a little similar to what we just did, but we'll offer like a full day masterclass or a 4 day curated kind of training. If you scan the code, let us know, and we'll design something for you folks. But yes, thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you.